And I don't know. Fuck the people that try to make you scared, you know, and fight back.
Pedro Pascal is getting dragged online for Fantastic Four, and it's not about his act.
We always ask, man, why does this keep happening? Why does Pedro Pascal keep getting cast? Why do executives in Hollywood keep casting Pedro Pascal?
It looks good. I'm a big Fantastic Four guy. I love the Fantastic Four, so I'm excited about this.
I thought it was supposed to be what's his face, John Krasinski from The Office. I thought he was Mr. Fantastic.
Now you think Fantastic Four will be high fives then?
And that is partially because Marvel's recent track record in the box office, right, with Thunderbolts, and plus the Fantastic Four has not been a strong IP in the theaters.
So Pedro Pascal is apparently lashing out at fans, and it's all because the new Fantastic Four movie bombed. He went from being internet daddy to well, let's just say he's not winning any Father of the Year awards right now. This whole thing kicked off when the movie, which everyone expected to be a surefire hit, landed with a resounding thud at the box office. We're talking less than $80 million on its opening weekend. That's a punch to the gut for a film with a budget rumored to be as big as a small country's GDP. The public was stunned, the critics were confused, and Marvel executives were reportedly seen having a group therapy session with a bowl of ice cream and a bottle of Xanax. But just when you thought the chaos couldn't get any spicier, Pedro decided to step into the fray with a comment that left everyone's jaws on the floor.
Whether or not newly released films are going to cut into those box office metrics, that's really up for discussion right now. And also whether or not the box office for Fantastic Four First Steps will be very similar to what Brave New World turned out to be once it actually made its course throughout all theaters.
It was during a press interview, a moment where most actors would politely thank the fans for their support, even if the support was as meager as a tip at a bad restaurant, but not our Pedro. He decided to double down on the disaster, reportedly telling people to stop demanding perfection. He then added a line that would forever be etched into the internet's hall of shame. If audiences skip the movie, that's on them, not us. The words hung in the air like a bad fart in an elevator, and the journalists in the room reportedly exchanged wide-eyed looks of disbelief. One of them allegedly dropped their microphone, and you could hear a pin drop in the room. In that moment, Pedro didn't just burn a bridge, he nuked it from orbit. And the internet, of course, was already pulling out the marshmallows.
We've been having a lot of Pedro Pascal conversations. Seems like a good guy.
So
he is way miscast as Reed Richards to be.
I don't understand why someone with such natural charisma as Pedro Pascal has keeps getting cast in these roles where he's just inert.
Within hours, the clip of his interview went viral. And I'm not talking about viral like a cute cat video. I'm talking about viral like a new strain of the flu that everyone is talking about. Hashtags like #NotMyFantastic4 and boycott Pedro Pascal started to trend, and the memes came rolling in faster than a freight train. TikTok creators were duetting the clip with neon text and wide-eyed reactions, all asking the same question. Did he really just say that? It was a full-blown digital riot, and Pedro, once the king of the internet, was now the main course. But the real question on everyone's mind was, why would he say something so tone-deaf and condescending? Well, whispers from behind the scenes suggest this wasn't an isolated incident, but rather a hint of a much larger problem.
He will reprise his role in next year's Avengers Doomsday and 2027's Avengers Secret Wars. However, Pascal knows he has his detractors after some claimed he is too old for the part or called for him to trim his facial hair.
Rumors started to surface about a difficult production. According to some anonymous crew members on fan forums, Pedro was a bit of a control freak, with one source claiming he pushed for late-night rewrites because Reed Richards needed to brood more. Another story, which has since been shared and reshared countless times, says he halted a major battle scene because the choreography was too silly and needed to be redone. These stories, whether true or not, painted a picture of a star whose passion had tipped over into stubbornness. It was a narrative that fit perfectly with the new villain persona the internet had created for him. But what was the final straw that truly turned the tide against him? It's all tied to a decision that had the rest of the cast and crew allegedly rolling their eyes.
You know, I've always thought of it as a very logistical thing of playing characters that are sort of protective father figures of either Grogu or Ellie or son in Wonder Woman. I become a father in Fantastic Four. And I think that it's probably just an age thing, really.
The final nail in the coffin, at least for some, was a story that came out about a tense confrontation with the director over costume colors. The rumor, which spread like wildfire, claimed that Pedro had a meltdown over a specific shade of blue. He allegedly insisted on a darker, more brooding shade, arguing that the lighter color was unfitting for a character of Reed Richards' intellectual depth. While this might sound like a minor detail, it reportedly caused significant delays and budget overruns, much to the frustration of everyone involved. This story, in a way, became a symbol for the entire production, a star so focused on his own vision that he was willing to derail everything else. But if Pedro was such a problem on set, why didn't anyone else on the cast or crew speak out?
I did all my stretching for real, and I pride myself on kind of being the funny guy on set. And I have to tell you, if there is a competition of who's funniest, who is smartest, and who is the most talented, I'm number 4, and I'm not even being modest.
Well, that's where things get even more interesting. The script was, to put it mildly, a minefield of emotional and logistical traps for the co-stars. Stories of Pedro's on-set antics were the whispers that kept everyone on their toes. One anonymous forum poster claimed that when a scene didn't go his way, he would retreat into a corner and sulk, forcing the director to coax him out like a toddler who just had his toy taken away. This behavior reportedly led to a strained environment where no one wanted to challenge him, fearing he would throw another tantrum. His co-stars, it said, were forced to walk on eggshells, constantly trying to appease the star. But the true masterpiece of this drama wasn't the on-set issues. It was the way it all unfolded on the red carpet, where every glance and every awkward silence was scrutinized for a sign of discord.
He should be.
I mean, I guess that is the one nice thing about the multiverse is that you can just say you're in a different universe where only this one person changed.
The red carpet interviews, once a showcase of camaraderie, became a masterclass in deflection. You would see the co-stars offering blanket thank yous to the fans, but then skillfully dodging any and all questions about Pedro. It was like watching a well-rehearsed dance of avoidance. The silence was deafening, and it spoke volumes. The media, of course, picked up on this immediately, with magazines noting the unusual absence of a united front. It was a PR nightmare that even the best spin doctors couldn't fix. But the real question on everyone's mind was, how did this PR disaster affect the one thing that mattered most to the studio? The money. The financial fallout was brutal. We're talking a 65% plunge in the second weekend. That's the kind of drop you see from films that are genuinely terrible, not a Marvel blockbuster. Movie theater managers noticed half-empty showings, and parents, who were once a key demographic for superhero films, were reportedly choosing animated alternatives instead. The disappointing figures were hard evidence that the angry chatter online wasn't just noise, it was people staying home. Investors were reportedly frowning, and Disney stock even dipped a hair. For Marvel, a studio used to victory laps, this was like stepping on a Lego brick barefoot. It was a sudden, sharp jolt that reminded them that success isn't guaranteed anymore. But the financial problems weren't the only concern for the executives. There were also whispers about Pedro's future in the MCU. The backlash was so severe that Marvel executives, according to insiders, were holding emergency meetings to discuss Pedro's future. The initial plans had him as a key leader in the upcoming Phase 5, a central figure in the Avengers films. But with the actor now being a lightning rod for controversy, they had to reevaluate. Whispers circulated about reducing his screen time in future movies, or even using the multiverse as an excuse to introduce a different version of Reed Richards. This wasn't just about one actor, it was about the entire foundation of the MCU. The studio was in a tough spot. Do they stick with the actor who just publicly shamed his audience, or do they cut their losses and risk alienating the small but passionate group of fans who were still holding out hope? The drama, however, wasn't just confined to the studio. It also had a ripple effect across Hollywood. Other studios were watching this whole thing unfold with the intensity of a hawk watching a mouse. Hollywood's unwritten rule is simple: never blame the ticket buyers. This whole debacle with Pedro became a cautionary tale that was reportedly being discussed in every boardroom. Two projects that had considered him for lead roles allegedly quietly reevaluated their choices. Casting directors were reportedly mentioning off record that insurance companies were demanding higher fees when stars presented a reputation risk. Trade papers even ran think pieces with headlines like, "Has Pedro Pascal poisoned his brand?" It was a stark reminder of how quickly a celebrity's brand can turn toxic and how easily years of goodwill can be undone by a single comment. But what was the true cost of this public meltdown for Pedro himself? While the emotional toll was arguably even worse than the financial one. Fans who had once called him Internet Daddy and created countless loving edits were now using those same clips to mock him. Old tweets praising him became targets for sarcastic replies. Stan accounts changed their icons overnight, and fan artists who once drew stylish Reed Richards pinups switched to satirical doodles of his stretched arms holding empty theater seats. The change was swift and sharp because fandom thrives on a sense of connection and betrayal, even if perceived, cuts deep. It's like a favorite teacher suddenly scolding the entire class for poor grades. The trust was broken, and rebuilding it would be an uphill battle, especially in the age of instant sharing. But as the dust began to settle, one final twist emerged that left everyone scratching their heads. In the midst of all the chaos, Pedro's social media, which had been silent for weeks, finally updated. He posted a moody black and white selfie with a cryptic caption about silence. Instead of offering an olive branch or an apology, the post only fueled more speculation that he still didn't see the problem. It was a move that many saw as doubling down on his arrogance, a final refusal to admit fault. It was a mic drop moment that nobody saw coming.